All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lindsay Holland. I am one of the assistant directors for UCF undergraduate admissions. I first want to thank you all for joining us for the last day of our virtual admitted student open house. So thank you so much for joining us today. Right now, we are going to start our advisor panel. So we have Jessica Mays joining us from our College of Health Professions and Sciences. We have Ali Sachme from the College of Medicine, Dr. Lucas Noboa from the College of Nursing, and Beth Gans from Knight's Major Exploration and Transition Center. So we will hear from them in just a moment. So right now, this is our advisor panel. After this, we will have our honors and lead presentation from 5:45 to 6:45. And then following that, we will have our parent and student panel from 7 to 8 p.m. Our parent panel will be on this Zoom webinar, and then the student panel will be on our Facebook or YouTube Live. So we are going to have our panelists come on, and they will do a brief introduction of their college. So we will have Dr. Lucas Noboa, if you want to start us off.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you for the introduction. I really appreciate it. Again, Dr. Lucas Noboa over in the College of Nursing. A couple of things about our college that I'm sure questions will come about are the limited access component of our program. So students all come in as a nursing pending major, working towards those requirements, and then submit a separate nursing application to get into our program. So a lot of the questions that we have are, what are the prerequisite courses and how to be competitive in the application to get admitted to our traditional BSN program. So I welcome any questions that you all have, and I'll pass it on to our next advisor.
Ali, would you like to go next?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ali Sachme. I'm an outreach coordinator with the College of Medicine. I was actually a biomedical sciences student myself and graduated a couple of years ago. I'd be happy to take any questions you all will have for me. Just one thing that I want to mention is, as of this year, we started also doing the, we have a pending policy for the College of Medicine, similar to the College of Nursing. So all of our students are going to be considered biomedical sciences pending, biotechnology pending, MLS pending, whatever their major may be, until they have completed certain courses with a grade of C or better, which of course everyone hopefully will. We also do have a progress policy for students who are in the major. So that means that, there's only a certain number of withdrawals or repeated courses that our students are able to take, but I'll go into the specifics later on.
And Jessica?
Hi, well, good evening, everybody. My name is Jessica Mays. I'm an advisor for the College of Health Professions and Sciences. Our college does house 4 undergraduate majors: health sciences, kinesiology, social work, and communication sciences and disorders. Much like the other majors that are represented here tonight, our only limited access major is social work. That will require a separate application to the program even after a general offer of admission. And then our 2 restricted access programs will be the health sciences pending for preclinical track and kinesiology as well. And I'm happy to be here tonight and to answer any questions you guys may have for our college.
And Beth.
Hello, my name is Beth Gans, and I'm with the Knight's Major Exploration and Transition Center. And our office helps students that are undecided about their major, want to explore different majors, learn about different areas, maybe even want to add minors and certificates and things like that. We help them through that process. We help them determine maybe what is best based on some assessment tests that we can give them. We will help students that have been what we call redirected. If for some reason it does not work out with the major that they're in, we can help them locate a better fit for them, a better major for them. At any point, we're available to help students transition to a different major or just learn about different majors, even if it's just a thought and a possibility. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
All right, so for those of you joining us, if you have any questions, you can put those questions in our Q&A feature, and I will get that question to our group joining us today. So I will start our first question for Dr. Noboa. Due to being limited access, we often have students ask why their major is nursing pending. So what does that status mean on their major?
That's a great question, Lindsay. Just due to the limited nature of resources available, faculty members, and literally chairs in the College of Nursing, we have to make our program limited access due to the fact that we have more qualified students than we have seats available. So our students come in as a nursing pending student until they meet our prerequisite, our test score requirements, as well as our GPA requirements. Those are very simple, and I can kind of just list them out to you. To be eligible for our BSN program, students have to have a cumulative GPA of a 3.0, which is going to consider all undergraduate coursework, including dual enrollment courses. They have to have a 78 or higher on the TEAS exam, which stands for the Test of Essential Academic Skill. And they have to have at least 7 of the 8 nursing prerequisite courses completed at the time of the application. So once students are working through their general education courses and mixing in some prerequisite courses, once they meet those requirements, they then become eligible to apply to our traditional BSN program. That application is every February, so it's in every spring, and the program starts in fall. Every August the program starts. So all the students come in as nursing pending, and then some of them matriculate into our traditional BSN program, those who are selected after our application closes.
All right, thank you for that. So we've got some questions coming in. So thank you so much for those of you putting your questions in the Q&A. This one is going to be for Beth. Would the Knights Major Exploration and Transition Center be able to help my student find a compatible major? And what would be the next step for that?
Basically, we take them through a whole process where we will give them some assessments, and then we'll even look at all the majors that we have and help ask them to determine which ones they may be interested in. We'll go through what the requirements for those type of majors are. We have some different online resources that can help students explore what type of careers they would go into with that particular major or variety of majors. We will usually start the first semester with them taking just general courses. Maybe if they have a few ideas in mind, helping them gear those general courses just towards those few majors they may be considering. So yeah, we'll work with them until they've picked out a major. We'll keep doing, we have lots of resources. Just last week, we had our second virtual online majors fair where students could come and talk to different departments. All of these departments that are here today were there just to ask questions about their programs. So we have workshops, different events to help them pick out their major.
Thank you. All right, Jessica, we have a question for you. If I want to be a surgeon majoring in health sciences, which program or track would you recommend for this career path?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that is traditionally how students are picking the track in the health sciences major, is based upon what they feel their career is going to be going forward. So anything in the medical side, being a doctor or a surgeon, as has been stated, is definitely going to be more targeted towards the preclinical track. Again, that is one of our restricted tracks. So for us, that does require a 3.0 overall GPA. So when a student applies, they're going to be applying as the health sciences pending preclinical track. And then as long as they have a 3.0 or above GPA, they'll then be moved out of the pending. But again, just to kind of put it as an overall, the health sciences health promotions track and the health sciences preclinical track are the exact same curriculum in terms of your prerequisites and your core courses. Where they differ is going to be in those restricted or required electives area. And that is kind of where students are picking those specific electives based upon those professional school prerequisites that they might be trying to meet.
All right, thank you. All right, Ali, looks like this one will be for you. There seems to be 3 pre-med programs for students who want to go on to medical school, one in the College of Sciences, one in the College of Medicine, and one in the College of Health Sciences. Which is best? Which one should a student apply for if their major is going to be biomedical sciences?
So, well, That's a good question. We have a lot of students, especially with our pre-medical students, asking what they should major in. And you know, the truth is that you can have any major and go on to medical school. I mean, this doesn't just apply to medical school, it applies to many health professional schools, whether you want to go to vet school, podiatry school, PA school, anything really. But it's kind of just a matter of which major you see being a better fit for yourself. Our most commonly selected major in the the College of Medicine is biomedical sciences, and we usually advise our students to just not select any track under that major. Okay, so right now we currently have neuroscience, molecular and cellular biology, molecular microbiology. These are all offered as tracks under our major, but we just recommend if you're looking at going into a health professional school, just keep it as general as possible. Don't select one of those tracks. And just by taking the biomedical sciences coursework, you'll be taking all of the prerequisites that you're required to take in order to be admitted into medical school, in order to take the MCAT, you know, all the biochemistry and physiology, all that fun stuff is built into our curriculum. So, yeah.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Naboa, we've got a couple questions about T's. So our first question is, if a student wants to be a specialized nurse practitioner, are they also going to have to take another test like the TEAS exam? And could you also speak about what the TEAS exam is, when a student should take this exam? What are your thoughts on that?
Those are all great questions. So nursing programs, as I'm sure you're probably aware, where they are and what country and even what state they're in, vary on their nursing requirements. So the TEAS exam is an undergraduate nursing requirement at UCF. That's not going to be the case if you're looking to go to a graduate program or even an undergraduate program somewhere else. So to speak more about graduate programs in nursing, most of them will require the GRE, the Graduate Records Examination. They won't necessarily require the TEAS exam, but they might require some form of standardized test. That's not to say that every program or every institution will require another standardized test, but most will. As for the TEAS exam that we have as a requirement for nursing at UCF, it covers everything from reading comprehension to math to science. The math portion goes up to about college algebra. The science portion is very heavy in anatomy and physiology. And then the reading comprehension and writing is what you can kind of fathom from that. So the TEAS exam, we have a retest policy, which is very important. It's something that you can take here in the University Testing Center. Students can actually schedule to take the exam, and the scores are sent directly to the College of Nursing. You can actually take this exam anywhere. If you're local or you're home for summer and you're taking it at a state college close to you, you can actually have those scores sent back to UCF. We do have a retest policy. It has to be 30 days between tests, and you can only test 3 times in the year. So 3 times in 2021, 3 times in 2022. A 78 or higher is required in addition to the other prerequisite requirements for us to review an application. All of our admission statistics are posted on our website. So you'll see that the average TEAS score for a student admitted to traditional Orlando for the fall of 2020, because our application for fall of 21 just closed, so we don't have those statistics yet, but it was roughly around an 87, although a 78 is required. So we tell students, although you meet the minimum application requirements for your application to be considered, meeting the minimum standards does not guarantee admission. So when you're looking at what score should I get and how should I prepare, that's another question that we get quite often is, how should I prepare? We often tell students, prepare for it in the similar way or a similar style that you prepared for the SAT or even the ACT. Some students don't do a lot of studying and do fine. Some students don't do a lot of studying and do horrible. And then the opposite, some students go through and hire a private tutor, order all of the books, do all of the study videos, and they do really well. It's going to be different for every student, but I do tell students, at Barnes & Noble, they offer a ton of different books. You want to get one that has practice exams in it so that you can prepare and practice before you take the real thing.
Thank you for that. All right, Jessica, we have a question for you. It's very similar to the nursing pending question. If my major is listed as health sciences pending preclinical track, can you explain why it's pending and what is needed to accomplish being accepted for the major?
So as I was mentioning, the health sciences preclinical track is one of our restricted majors, specifically for that track in health sciences. It does require a 3.0 overall GPA. So the process traditionally is that while a student is going to be in the health sciences pending coming into UCF, there is basically a batch system that's ran by the department of the major, and students that have a 3.0 GPA will then be transitioned out of that pending status into the major. So unless at any point in time your GPA never meets that 3.0 or was a 3.0 and goes down, essentially it's kind of a behind the scenes process that as long as the GPA meets a 3.0, you'll be then transitioned out of the pending.
All right, thank you. Beth, we have a couple questions for you for our Knights Major Exploration Center. If a student is already enrolled for a major, can they still go to your office for assistance if they're still not 100% sure if that's the major that they would like to pursue?
Absolutely. That is no problem whatsoever. I see students all the time that are nursing or biomed, no, just kidding, and considering a change. And we have a conversation with them, and sometimes they keep their same major and other times they decide to change. So yeah, we do absolutely work with students that are considering a major change.
Okay.
And they can come to all of our events and anything that we have going on. It's open to all students at the university.
Okay. And if the student is undecided at orientation, what kind of orientation are they going to be receiving as an undecided major?
Well, basically we'll go over the general requirements with the students in kind of a group setting, helping them to understand some of the general things that everybody has to take, no matter what your major is. And some of the state requirements and some of the university requirements, state writing requirements, things like that. And then you meet individually with a academic advisor, and they'll discuss with you your thoughts on majors. But if you're completely undecided, you can absolutely really just stick to the general stuff as a freshman. It's not unusual. I've had students that have told me that they absolutely do not know what they want to major in and they just want to keep it general to start with. And other ones that are say, I'm considering business, but I'm considering another major, and we'll find, common ground for them to start with and register them.
All right, Dr. Nabeau, we have another question for you. What is nursing undecided? Can I apply to the Bachelor of Science in Nursing program with a nursing undecided major, or do you have to be listed as nursing pending?
So you can actually apply to the College of Nursing with any major. Like Ali mentioned, it's not something, it makes it a lot easier for us to validate your nursing application if you're a nursing pending major and you have a nursing pending degree audit. But to apply to our BSN program, your major does not need to be nursing pending. Undecided nursing is just a kind of an area where we're putting students who did not come into the university as nursing pending until they can prove that they have the 3.0 or until they're able to achieve the 3.0, which is the application requirement. We shuffle them into undecided nursing for a semester. Once they are able to have that first semester of coursework, they're able to achieve the 3.0. At that time, students can change their major to nursing pending. We do a really good job of communicating this with students as they come into the university. And actually, when they're trying to change their major, they'll receive an automatic message that tells them, thank you for your interest in the College of Nursing. At this time, we are limiting nursing pending changes. And here's the instructions. Following your fall semester of a 3.0 GPA, you can then change to nursing pending. So there's really no difference in nursing pending and undecided nursing. And I guess kind of to cap it off and answer that final question, your major does not need to be nursing at all to apply to the College of Nursing. You just need to meet those minimum application requirements that I listed before, which include the prerequisites, the T's, and the GPA requirements. So anybody can apply to the College of Nursing as long as they have those minimum standards.
All right, thank you. All right, Ali, If I'm majoring in biomedical sciences, do I have to take the chemistry placement test?
Okay, I'm happy that you asked that. So I would recommend, if there's anything that you do over the summer to try and prepare for school, it's that you go ahead and get your chemistry and math placement tests done with as soon as possible. This is going to help a lot on orientation day, when we actually know which chemistry class we can recommend for you. Otherwise, you may end up going in a lower chemistry class, and by the time you take that placement exam and you can get placed in the higher chemistry, that class is full. So yeah, I definitely recommend that you take the chemistry placement test and the math placement test. Even if you think you're not going to do a good job on it, even if you think you might get the lowest placement possible, you may be surprised. It might end up going a lot better than you think. I would say definitely take it, as long as you're entering the College of Medicine. Yeah.
We have another question for you as well. How does the pre-med program or pre-health advising connect with the medical school? The student read that there's a possibility to be accepted at a medical school during their program with us.
Okay, yeah, so that's a good question. So we don't have a specific program that kind of connects us from the undergraduate side to the UCF College of Medicine. There is the Burnett Medical Scholars Program. This falls under the Honors College. This is something that you would have to be admitted into from the start when you're starting off at UCF. They have their own set of requirements. I don't want to give anyone any wrong information on that. So I would refer you to the honors presentation later today for that. But besides the Burnett Medical Scholars Program, again, we don't have any programs currently that would kind of link you directly to the College of Medicine. If you take a look at the requirements that you have to meet in order to stay in the Burnett Medical Scholars Program, so for example, the MCAT score that they need, the GPA, shadowing hours, all of that, that's what's going to make you a competitive medical school applicant anyways. So whether you are in this program or not, your odds of getting into medical school are looking good if you've met those requirements.
Thank you. Next up, we have a question for Jessica. It's about our kinesiology program. So number one, what do you have to do to get into the kinesiology program? Is there anything specific? And what can you do with a degree in kinesiology?
Yeah, those are actually all really great questions. So for kinesiology, that is another pending major. Again, students are going to apply to the university as kinesiology pending. And through meeting the completion of all of your general education prerequisites, your Gordon Rule math and writing requirements, and a 2.5 GPA essentially is what they're going to mainly be looking for in terms of moving a student out of pending. Now, unlike the health sciences preclinical pending, that's kind of done on a behind the scenes batch process to move students out of pending, the kinesiology pending major will require a student to submit a change of major from kinesiology pending to the regular kinesiology program. Now, as far as careers in kinesiology, there's a lot of things that students can go into, medicine and allied health areas, athletic training, physical therapy, fitness, things along those lines is a lot of the more popular areas that students are looking for, and they'll decipher and pick a track based upon what that career is. But research as well, academia with teaching, and sports management. So those are some of the fields that a lot of our kinesiology students will traditionally go on to find careers in.
The next question is kind of for the group. We have several questions asking about what major would pre-dental fall under? Who would house pre-dental majors?
So, go ahead. What was that? Okay, I was just going to say health sciences preclinical would be a good undergraduate major that is an option for students. A lot of our students that want to go into pre-dental do identify that major. But, as we've all kind of said, to go into those types of careers, really, you can pursue any undergraduate major, but having a foundational major that has a science component does prepare a student much better for those prerequisites that will be needed. And I'll defer that to the rest of the group for any other input.
Yeah, so just to add on to that, Again, with dental students, I usually see that they're either going into health sciences, preclinical, or biomedical sciences. The majority of them, as mentioned before, you can do any major and go into these health professional schools. They're not gonna, just basically deny you based on your major if you're not a certain thing. But both biomedical sciences and health sciences definitely do have those dental school requirements. They have the chemistry and other coursework that you're expected to know in order to take the DAT. So yeah, both would be good choices, I'd say.
All right, Dr. Nabeau, we have a lot of questions for you today. This next one is, if I were to meet all of the requirements to get into the nursing school, but then I don't get in, what would be my next step to getting to become a future nurse?
Yeah, this is probably a daily conversation I have with students. And when you look at the admission statistics and you look how competitive our program actually is, it becomes quite daunting and it can be intimidating. For this group here, my main focus is to discuss our traditional BSN program. But I do want to make students aware that we do have other BSN programs at UCF available to students. We have a Seminole State concurrent program, and we have a Valencia College concurrent program. And for those of you who aren't local, those are two state colleges here in Central Florida. What we've done is we've partnered with these institutions to create a concurrent program where students are doing the ASN program, the Associates of Science in Nursing program at the state college, while concurrently taking BSN classes through UCF. So that's another option. Whereas our traditional program only has one application because the program starts once a year. Our Seminole State concurrent program has 3 applications. It starts in summer, fall, and spring. And our Valencia concurrent program has an application in fall and in spring. So that right there are 5 additional applications where students who are not admitted into our traditional BSN program, that application is in February, can then turn around in May and submit a Seminole State concurrent and a Valencia concurrent application. And those programs also start in fall as well. So there are a variety of programs for these students to achieve the BSN at UCF. And quite honestly, we have a lot of students who do change their major to maybe something in CHIPS or maybe something in the College of Medicine, complete their first undergraduate degree in something other than nursing, and then come back to the College of Nursing and do our second degree BSN, which is for students who have a first degree in something outside of nursing. All of our programs have the same requirements, so students will find it very easy if they're working towards one BSN, they're very easily eligible for another program that has a different start date. The only thing that really changes is the length of the programs. Our traditional BSN program is your 5-semester program, whereas the Seminole State is an additional semester at 6, and our Valencia concurrent right now is 7 semesters. But all of the results of these programs, they all end with a BSN from UCF. The degrees look the exact same. They say the exact same thing on them. So a lot of students think one mindset that I want to do traditional Orlando when we have thousands of nursing pending students and we take 126 on our main campus. It becomes quite daunting and intimidating. But we do have a lot of available options for students. And we even have others that I share with students, but I don't think it's kind of relevant for this group here, for students who achieve the BSN from UCF. So I don't want, at this point in time, this group of students, all doors are open to you. All possibilities are open towards you. If you want to work towards the traditional BSN, our group of advisors are there to guide you towards that. If you come back to us in 2 or 3 semesters and your academic profile has changed or your mindset has changed, but you still want the BSN, we do have options for those students to still achieve the BSN through UCF if the traditional BSN, because of its competitiveness, might be a little bit out of reach. So we do have a ton of BSN options for students.
And this could be a question for you or for Jessica, but if a student is currently listed as health sciences preclinical and they are looking to change their major over to nursing, how would they go about making that change?
Yeah, so I know from the nursing pending standpoint right now, we've cut off automatic major changes where students can automatically change their major into nursing and they're automatically a nursing pending student. We are taking the liberty to review each major change that we have. Right now, we are limiting those students who are first time in college students and beginning in summer 21 or in fall 21, if they did not have nursing on their application when they applied to the institution and were admitted, we're going to ask that they complete their first fall semester. And if after fall in the spring they have a 3.0, we will then review their major and approve it if it is a 3.0. If they try to change their major right now or in fall, we would ask that they wait, and we'll deny it right now and ask that they wait until their fall grades are posted and we can verify that they have a 3.0 to admit them to nursing pending. That's just because our minimum application requirement is a 3.0, and we don't want to admit students with less than a 3.0 to really set them on a path to not getting admitted or being eligible to apply to our BSN programs. So we will still meet and advise students and tell them, here are the classes that you can take, which you can take if you meet the prerequisite courses and you don't need to be a nursing major to do so. We'll advise these students on what courses to take. They might just not be a nursing pending major right off the bat.
Now, if you are looking to change your major right now as an admitted student, you can email our Office of Undergraduate Admissions at admission@ucf.edu. So you can make that change right now, and we can update that from our end for all other majors. So if you're looking to do that, I know we have a couple questions coming in. Just email our admissions office and you can go ahead and get your major updated. Okay, Beth, we have a couple questions for you. Will the Knights Major Exploration Program also go over the jobs that we can get with the majors that they're looking into?
So we have some online resources that we use, and say we pulled up kinesiology, we would look at the type of career fields that people would go into with kinesiology. We'd also show them resources online for like the Occupational Outlook Handbook, where they can connect and see more in-depth information, related fields, things like that. We also at the university offer a course, a 3-credit-hour course that sometimes students will take in their first semester or even down the road if they're thinking of changing. That's all about career planning. I always say it's the only class that's all about you, and it's taught by a career counselor, and you go through all kinds of assessment testing, but you also do research on different career fields. You also would possibly shadow different people for credit. It depends on what the instructor wants you to do for it. And they even help them start to put together things like resumes and do job, maybe job interview skills, so they'll help them through those processes. Even if it's in the first semester, it may be very early on, but it's things that they can build on. And again, it's taught by a career counselor. It is 3 elective credits, but most majors have room for electives. So it's worthwhile, maybe first semester or second semester if the student is struggling with what to major in. And as far as jobs and careers, we will help them as best we can and get them all that kind of information and resources. But UCF has an entire office for career counseling, and we have really fabulous career counselors too. And I refer students to them all the time, and they're really worthwhile to meet with. So if they don't get maybe as in-depth the information that they want from us, they definitely have a whole nother resource that I would definitely encourage students to go to. Just today, I had a young lady, she was considering advertising and public relations, and we went through it all, and we discussed careers and and how to move up and all that kind of stuff. And then at the end of it, I gave her the resources for the career counselors that would be worthwhile for her to meet with, and she was excited to do that too. So I think it never hurts to get more info.
Kind of a follow-up, but definitely for your office. Depending on the amount of credits that a student has coming in, is it better to declare a major early on versus later? I guess this can be for any of you guys, but sooner than later?
Well, I'll just say real quick, if a student is accelerated and they have a lot of dual enrollment or AP, you may be in a position where it is a good idea to declare a major, but you are already ahead of the game. You're already ahead. So it is a good idea to maybe take that semester and explore a little. And that's another thing I didn't mention earlier that I'll encourage students to do if there's areas or fields that they're considering to maybe take first level courses in that area to see if it is a good fit. So I know that, you know, sometimes we have students that already have their AA degrees as coming in as freshmen, or we have students that have tons of AP and dual enrollment and stuff like that. I like to have the student that is undecided to use that as a little bit of a buffer, give yourself a little extra time to make that decision and not feel like that you're falling behind.
I'll speak in terms of nursing. There isn't a lot of wiggle room. I know Beth mentioned that there are some majors that have a lot of elective space, and she's completely correct. Nursing doesn't. So if you're considering nursing, there's very little wiggle room to be undecided, because one semester could put you off when you're looking at limited access and applications. One semester could be the difference between starting a BSN program and getting admitted and having to wait a semester and applying at the end, or your program might not be the program you want to. So, and I know Ali mentioned this earlier as well, for nursing, it's very important that students get the math placement test out of the way, because they're going to need the college algebra credit in order to take Chem 1032, in order to take some of our science prerequisite courses like human anatomy, human physiology, and microbiology. So there's not a lot of wiggle room in nursing. So we want students to understand that if you're not 100% sure about nursing, that you meet with an advisor immediately so that we can set you on a path you can still recover from. Because if you start self-advising and you start taking all of these random courses, which you like and are interested in, that might not put you in enough room to get back onto track and still pursue nursing. It might be better you might have a better chance at some other majors, but for nursing, we don't have a lot of wiggle room.
You know, and I absolutely agree with that. A lot of the science majors and a lot of the health science majors, and of course nursing, there really is not room for electives. But fortunately, I mean, as our admissions office knows, a lot of the students do come in with so many gen eds done already. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. If you want to be on that path for, you know, science, nursing, health, any of them, it definitely requires you just sort of know what you want to do.
Ali, we're receiving a lot of questions about what the recommended major is for the College of Medicine. We have anesthesiologists, a potential anesthesiologist joining us, PA. What is the recommended major for the College of Medicine?
Okay, this is, I want to say, probably our most commonly asked question. Basically, what should I major in? I'm looking at going into this specialty or into this health profession. So if you're looking at going into any health profession, and you know, you're considering a major under the College of Medicine, my first recommendation for you is biomedical sciences. And this applies to any medical specialty you may be looking at. It doesn't matter if you want to become an internist, if you want to become a cardiothoracic surgeon, you know, anything in between, basically. You'll be going to medical school, of course, if you're looking at a specialty like that. And in order to get into medical school, there's a certain set of prerequisites that you need to meet, which all of that is built into our biomedical sciences major. I recommend for students who are looking at specific medical specialties to keep an open mind as much as possible right now. And I'm not saying this to discourage anyone in any way, of course. This is only because specialty selection in medical school typically happens during your third and fourth year as a medical student. That's when you're actually doing those clinical rotations. You're getting that experience in all the specialties. And that's when someone can really decide that, you know, I want to become an anesthesiologist. I want to do pediatrics, for example, or any other specialty. So keep an open mind as much as possible. For now, just focus on that next step, which is getting into medical school or getting into PA school, whatever health professional school it may be. But yeah, generally I would recommend biomedical sciences major with no track. That's the most popular route for our pre-health professional students.
Thank you. Now, can one of you touch on what the other options are for medical school in terms of major selection?
Yeah, so I'm gonna just list off all the majors that we are offering in the College of Medicine. So we have the biomedical sciences major, which, as I said, that's our most popular major, but we also have a neuroscience track under the biomedical sciences major. We have the molecular microbiology and molecular cellular biology majors. These were, in the past, they were their own tracks under the biomedical sciences major, but as of this summer, and this is pretty exciting for us, they will officially become their own majors. We also have biotechnology, and we have medical laboratory sciences, which is our only limited access program. With any of these majors, with the exception of medical laboratory sciences, you'd be good to go to medical school. You just have to be aware of what courses you're taking for your electives, which is where I recommend that you are doing some of your own research and also meeting with our pre-health and pre-law advisors. They are amazing at, guiding you to any health professional school you may be looking at going into. They can give you a better idea of what prerequisite coursework you should make sure you're doing, like anatomy, physiology, genetics, that kind of stuff, basically. But with any major in the College of Medicine, as long as you're being aware of the courses that you're taking, you would be fine if you're looking at going into medical school. The only exception to that is medical laboratory sciences, which, as I said, that is a limited access program. It's a terminal degree. It's more geared towards students who are looking at becoming laboratory technologists right after graduating. So you don't have to do any more schooling. Basically, after your 4 years of undergrad are done, you're moving straight into the workforce. And in that case, if you decide that you want to go to medical school after that, you'll most likely have to return and do some prerequisites, like, take additional math, chemistry classes, other sciences.
Jessica, do you have anything to add in terms of the majors offered through CHIPS?
Yeah, I was just going to go ahead and add on that health sciences, again, is going to be one of our more popular majors to set a foundation for going on to a medical program. One thing I did want to mention is that a lot of times, and this question may come up in this session, is, students, should they go to health sciences or biomedical sciences? Because those really are the two majors that students kind of toss between when they're deciding, that their future career plans are med school. I'm not sure how all these students, ask this question, but a lot of the health sciences students, will ask that, like, which one should I choose? Which one's the better choice? Which one is going to make me more competitive? And at least from our advising community, we always tell students that one is not better than the other, that they need to be looking at the course catalog. They need to be comparing the curriculum, because some things are the same in the curriculum, but there are many differences too. And, as was touched on earlier by the College of Medicine, you have to find the major that is the right fit for you. And a lot of time, by looking at that curriculum, you're going to find, which curriculum that you are more passionate about, which classes interest you more, what do you want to see as part of your undergraduate career, which one maybe gets you more of those prerequisites that you're going to need because you've done the research on your post-graduation plan. So those would just be some, pieces of advice that I would give to any of you in this session that are maybe tossing up being either health sciences or biomed. Maybe you've declared one of, over the other at this point, but it's not, like I said, unlikely that students, as they move forward in their career, may not swap between the two of us. So that was all.
Yeah, and just to add on really quickly, luckily there is a decent amount of overlap, I would say, between biomedical sciences and health sciences. So for our undecided students out there listening, you guys don't need to worry or panic or anything. If you decide, even after a year or two, that biomed isn't right for you, that you'd rather do health sciences or the other way, you're not going to be losing out on a lot of credits, because there is so much overlap between the two majors. And these catalogs are all available to you online. You can just go ahead and look them up, and you can, see for yourself. All the science courses and stuff that you'll be taking, they are very similar. And more important than the major that you have, when you're applying to medical schools and other health professional schools is the extracurriculars. It's, you know, how many volunteering hours have you done? How's your shadowing experience? What is your MCAT score? Do you have any research experience? So there's a lot more that goes into your application than just the major that you've selected.
As Ali had mentioned earlier, we do have an Office of Pre-Health and Pre-Law Advising. And often I have students that are undecided. They can't decide between the majors here or maybe even biology. They're just stuck. They just do not know what to choose. And when they do go and speak to these offices, they will very much tell them it is not, there is not one major. There's not one right major. And there's no one right answer. I mean, they have students with English majors that get into medical school, or I know I have a orthopedic surgeon that he has an undergraduate in engineering. So it's less likely, I mean, not necessarily to be admitted, but most students will go in the science directions, but honestly, they can go in any direction that they choose, as long as they do all those things, get those shadowing hours, get those volunteering hours, that research, all of that stuff. That's very important, the good grades and the MCAT scores.
So Jessica, kind of along these lines, number one, how rigorous would you say the health sciences preclinical track program is? And then if a student ended up changing their mind about going into medical school, what other career options are available to those students within that clinical track?
So definitely the preclinical track is going to be more rigorous than our health sciences health promotions track, for instance, for a comparison. Again, as I stated, the prerequisites are going to be the exact same. The core courses are going to be the same. Again, the difference between the two tracks is going to be those elective credits. If you are looking for a career, you know, going to medical school, you're going to be selecting more rigorous, not prerequisites, but restricted electives. And that's kind of where sometimes the students tend to struggle a little bit. When you look at the curriculum, they are much more science intense. There's very few soft or easier electives as part of the preclinical track. So you really have to be devoted to wanting to do those types of courses through the rest of your undergraduate curriculum, because you need a minimum of 28 credits of those restricted electives. And again, there's only going to be a few that are going to be on that softer side. So as you get more into those elective courses, you're going to be taking numerous science courses probably within the same semester to accomplish all of those. With, again, the health promotions track, that one will have the same prerequisites, will have the same core courses, but the electives differ. They're not necessarily as science heavy. So while, for instance, a student that wants to go into physical therapy can do the preclinical track, they really could also just go for the health promotions track, because a physical therapy student isn't usually going to be required to have like organic chemistry 2 or biochem, you know, some of those higher level sciences. And thankfully, the health promotions track offers up to organic chemistry 1 as a, you know, an option for an elective. So you just have to be really strategic about looking at what the prerequisites are for the program that you want to go into after graduation, and deciding on which track best fits for you, because you're going to be basing it off of what electives you may need. So again, we tell students there's no need to be doing preclinical track and taking more rigorous coursework that could potentially bring your GPA down if you struggle in those courses, if you don't actually need those classes for that next step. Again, just credentials wise, preclinical track requires a 3.0 GPA, where the health promotions track is a 2.5 GPA. And then, Lindsay, you asked about the question of careers. Again, most of our students are going to be taking the preclinical track major because they do intend to apply to some type of post-professional program. So again, for those students that, you know, might be able to meet the graduation requirements of a 3.0 for health sciences, but maybe they take a gap year, you know, or they don't get admitted into their medical program because they can't get in that cycle, or whatever the circumstances may be. You know, sometimes they'll go on to graduate programs, or in some cases, some students didn't finish all the prerequisites for their professional program. And so they'll take additional ones maybe, or they'll retake some classes to improve on grades. And then there's other instances where students will go into, you know, other fields because that path just didn't work out for them. So It really is an undergraduate major that's building a foundation for some type of post-graduation plan, whether it's a graduate program or a professional program.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, Dr. Naboa, we've got several questions again for you. So this is kind of a two-part. When should I start the nursing application process as someone who is coming in with a lot of college credit, maybe about a year's worth? And then what is the College of Nursing looking for in the nursing applications? Shadowing, medical experience, volunteering, what are you looking for?
Those are great questions. And now that you asked that, I think I forgot, somebody asked when you should take the TEAS. And the TEAS is a nursing application requirement. So as long as you have taken the TEAS by the application deadline, you are good to go. But I did reference the coursework that is very heavily influenced by the TEAS exam. So a lot of students who aren't coming in with human anatomy and human physiology, so they'll want to take those courses prior to taking the TEAS exam. Now, as for the nursing application, students who are accelerated, coming in with dual enrollment, coming in with AP, IB credit, you may be ready to apply to one of our nursing programs quicker, because usually we have students apply in the sophomore of their second semester, the spring semester. We have them submit the nursing application to begin the fall of their junior year. Some of our accelerated students are going to be applying a little bit earlier, and some are ready earlier, but not quite ready to apply. So in that situation, what we recommend students is potentially picking up a minor. A lot of students have that freedom. A lot of students pick up the psychology minor. Some do a health sciences minor. They have extra room because they've brought in so many courses through AP and dual enrollment. What we're looking at on the nursing application is purely quantitative data. We're looking at 4 things. We're looking at your T-score. We're looking at your overall GPA. We're looking at the GPA in your 4 science courses. And we're looking at the GPA in your 4 non-science prerequisite courses. Now, if it's at the time of the application, obviously we're only looking at 7 GPAs. But we're looking purely at the quantitative data. We don't accept or recommend, we don't have letters of recommendation. We don't require job shadowing. We don't require any of that. We look purely at the quantitative data. So once students have all of those requirements, they're eligible to apply. The nursing application is only available on our website from, if it's the traditional program, it's only available from February 1st to February 15th. So if you log on there on January 31st, it's not going to be there. If you log on February 15th, it's not going to be there. So there's no real preparation for the application. It's logging on. The application takes about 30 minutes to complete. And if you've submitted all of your transcripts and you've taken all of your courses and we have your T-score, we validate applications and then we rank our students based on those categories that I listed, which include the GPAs and the T-score.
All right, we have time for just a couple more questions. Ali, we have one for you about our MCAT. How far into the educational career do you take the MCAT? When is that taken?
All right, cool. I'm glad you asked. So when you take the MCAT depends on when you are looking at starting medical school. If you are not looking to take a gap year at all, you want to, graduate with, your bachelor's and jump straight into med school for whatever reason that may be, then you'd be taking your MCAT at the end of your junior year. Medical school applications open in May of each year. And this is for students who are looking to start in the fall of the next year. So for example, if you're looking at starting medical school this upcoming August, then you would have done your medical school application last May, which means you would need to have your MCAT score by then. So I would advise that you take your MCAT no later than May. Generally, that's kind of the consensus. If you do it any later than that, it may be a little bit later, too late in the application. If you're looking at doing one gap year, you'd be taking your MCAT at the very end of your senior year during that May. If you are looking at doing, 2 or more gap years, then, you can graduate and then you have some time to study for your MCAT. But I would say that it comes down to when you are looking at starting medical school. And this kind of brings me to another point with gap years. They are becoming a lot more common now. The AAMC hasn't really released too much data on this over the past few years, but just looking at the starting class of 2015, over 50% of medical students had done at least one gap year. And this number is definitely higher by now because medical school admissions are getting, much more competitive. You need, a higher GPA, higher MCAT score, more of those volunteering, shadowing, research hours. And, in order to get that, for a lot of students, they need to look at doing one or more gap years. So I would recommend keeping an open mind when it comes to the idea of gap years as well.
Thank you. So I have a question for all of you. I don't even know if you all can answer this question, but do your programs have a preferred laptop, whether it is Windows, Apple?
That's going to vary by, I think, instructor. That's going to vary by course, and that's even going to be up to student preference. The College of Nursing doesn't have a preferred, and I don't think any college has a preferred laptop, but there are going to be certain courses that are going to require certain software. There are going to be courses that require students to have access to certain things that Macs versus PCs have. So I don't think there's a recommended course or a laptop for the university either.
I find that the majors like engineering, even maybe art, architecture, they tend to be more computer specific. But other than that, I think you can pretty much go anyway, unless anybody else has something else to add with that. The engineering, computer science, some of the art majors that are doing a lot on the computer, they tend to be a little more particular, but in general, the other departments are not as particular.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we had several questions about that. So I just wanted to see if you guys had any preference or knew anything about that. All right, well, thank you all so much for joining us for our advisor panel. Thank you, panelists, for joining us and providing us with some great answers to a lot of great questions that we've received tonight. So again, thank you for joining us. We are going to get started at 5:45 for our honors and lead presentation. So if you'd like to stick around for that, we will go ahead and get started in about 15 minutes. But thank you all for joining us and have a great rest of your night.
Hey guys, bye.
Good night, everyone.